Hello, welcome to Stories for Wonderful Children, the podcast where I share the recordings of the bedtime stories I've improvised for my children over the years. I'm Dan Wendelin, your host and storyteller. For almost 20 years, I made up a new story for my children every night at bedtime. Many of those stories were recorded, and now I'd like to share the very best of those with you. I hope you enjoy these stories for wonderful children.
Once upon a time, there was a group of people. They lived in a great grassy plain. They moved from place to place on the backs of elephants. That is why they were known to all the other people in that area as the elephant riders. Now, among the elephant riders, there was a young girl, about 12 years old, and she wanted very much to have her own elephant to ride. But among the elephant riders, the rule was that you only got your own elephant if you captured your own elephant and taught it to be ridden. And if you did not have an elephant of your own, the tribe had elephants that belonged to everyone, but they were only used for moving from place to place, and you could not take them out for a ride or anything like that, unless it was your own personal elephant. And the tribe's elephants did not have names because they did not belong to any one person to name them. So this young girl, whose name was Shala, decided to go on an elephant walk.
What's an elephant walk?
An elephant walk was when a young person who wanted an elephant of their own would go and they would walk. They would take some food and a stick and a bottle to put water in, sort of a canteen kind of thing to put water in. And they would walk away from all the rest of the tribe and go in search of an elephant who would consent to be theirs. And so Shala, one morning, after bidding goodbye to her siblings and her parents, she got a good sturdy stick that she had found some days before that was about the right height and fit her hand comfortably. And she took a pack of food that her mother had made for her that would last her for about 5 days. And she filled her water skin, and she just sat and decided which direction to walk on the first day.
Did you say eeny, meeny, miny, mo?
No.
Darn.
She said east, west, north, south. Now, if you were Shala, which direction would you have started in?
Well, I would have played eeny, meeny, miny, mo in the first place.
No. Well, Shala decided to go north first, and she walked for the morning and most of the afternoon before she finally came across a set of elephant tracks, and she began to follow them. Elephants usually lived in family groups, and it was a little bit unusual to see an elephant all alone. But she followed it until late in the day, when she finally came across the elephant. It was a great bull elephant with great long tusks. And when it saw her, it raised its trunk and it trumpeted a warning at her. And Shala had been around elephants enough to know that when a bull elephant trumpeted at you like that, you had best pay attention and move away. This was clearly not the elephant for her. Next, she found a good tree to climb with a broad branch. And she got some sticks. She laid between branches to make sort of a little bit of a platform for herself. And she laid down and she slept in the tree. Up in the tree she was safe from most sorts of creatures that might think that a young elephant rider might be tasty. And the next morning she got up and she walked west. Her plan was to be back on the end of the 4th day. And so she was going to walk north a day, west a day, south a day, and then east a day, and arrive back where she had started. And so she walked west. That day, she came across, around noon, a warthog with its young piglet. And she was sort of trying to walk in a broad circle around the warthog because they were notoriously grumpy. And they had razor-sharp tusks. And they would charge you at a moment's notice. But as she was walking around, she saw a rustling in the grass, and as she turned to look, she saw a leopard come streaking out of the grass and grab the baby warthog by the neck and run off with it. And she thought, oh, that baby warthog is going to be lunch for that leopard. But the mama warthog charged right into the leopard, and she caught up with it and it dropped her baby. And the baby was not hurt because the leopard had not had time to hurt. And the warthogs wandered off. The leopard ran away to lick its wounds. But although she walked all that day, she did not see an elephant, or even any elephant tracks or any elephant droppings. And at night, she had trouble finding a tree that she could sleep in. And so instead she built a fire. She built a great big roaring fire. And she lay next to it and looked up at the stars. She woke up every few hours all through the night to feed sticks to the fire to keep it glowing, because she knew that most animals that hunt at night would be afraid of the fire and not come near it. She woke up in the morning. She was a little stiff from sleeping on the ground all night, and she did not feel very well rested because she'd had to wake up so many times to put sticks on the fire. So she was a little grumpy when, only an hour into walking south, she came upon a great group of elephant footprints. Big ones and little ones, a family elephant group. And she followed their tracks, and it took only a few minutes before she saw them. And they looked at her, but they did not trumpet a warning. And so she sat down. She sort of squatted down, and she did kind of a little shuffling kind of dance while squatting down. This was the way that elephant riders communicated with elephants, because elephants can't talk, but they sort of understand a kind of sign language. And the elephant riders, through many, many years, had learned some of those signs. And so Shala made the signs that she was a young elephant rider, and she was looking for an elephant who wanted to come with her in search of adventure in the wide world, and who wanted to live with humans. And the elephant sort of shuffled back, and then the matriarch of the family, because elephant families, it's the oldest female that's in charge, called the matriarch. The matriarch of the elephant family came toward her and shuffled a little bit and pointed her trunk off in a direction. And Shala, after puzzling about it a bit, figured out that what the matriarch was saying was that none of the elephants in her family loved adventure or wished to live with humans, but that there was such an elephant, and that it lived in that direction. So Shala started off in that direction, and before too long she heard a rustling and a snapping in the bushes. She couldn't see what it was. She took firm hold of her stick, hoping that it wasn't a leopard coming to see how she tasted. But what came out of the bushes was not a leopard. It was an elephant. It was sort of not a baby elephant, but clearly a very young one. And it came right up to Shala, and Shala did the kind of shuffling dance to say that she was an elephant rider looking for an elephant. And the elephant sort of shuffled back, saying that it would be interested in being her elephant. And so Shala put out her hand, and the elephant laid its trunk in her hand. And Shala closed her eyes for a second, and she said, "I will name you Tila." And then Tila put her trunk down, and Shala put her foot on it, and Tila boosted her up to her back. And they rode that way, with Shala on Tila's back, south for the rest of the day. And that night, Shala fed Tila a day's worth of the food from her pouch, and then Tila went off and ate some tree leaves and things. And Shala built only a small fire that night, and she slept well up against Tila's warm body, because nothing would dare attack an elephant. And in the morning, she got on Tila's back again, and because a walking elephant travels much faster than a walking girl, it was only a little after lunchtime when they arrived back at the elephant riders' camp. And everyone came out and cheered, because it was always a reason for great celebration when someone found a new elephant to join their tribe. Shala took Tila to where all the other elephants were and introduced her around, which required a lot of sort of shuffling and dancing. And then after that she went to where all the people were, and they had a great dinner party in honor of her succeeding on her very first elephant walk to bring an elephant back to the try.
Thanks for listening to Stories for Wonderful Children. I created today's story, but heckling and clever commentary were supplied by my children. The theme music was created by Brandon Thompson, and the logo was designed by Silas Wendelin. If you know someone who might enjoy the stories, please tell them about the show. Our website is storiesforwonderfulchildren.com, and preview snippets are posted to most social media. I'm Dan Wendelin, reminding you to tell someone you love a story.